Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brody Sports Talk. It is Season 3, Episode 48. I am your host, Caleb Walgren, and I am joined by the greatest co host of all time. That is Derek Rusnick. Say hi, Derek.
Hello.
And no one other than the influencer of all power rankings, Sean Morgan.
No, say hi, Sean.
I figured you were going to say what you wanted to say.
I was excited to whenever you said say hi, Sean, to say hi, Sean, but you took away that opportunity from me, and now I feel like I have been robbed. You know, I
I
just,
mean,
I just
Some of
really,
us don't need as much prompting as others.
you know
I
what?
need prompting. You are the co-host extraordinaire. He doesn't need to prompt you into anything.
I suppose. Well, I mean, it does help the fact that I basically record. Hang on. So I record 3 days a week, so a grand total of 9 episodes, 9 podcast episodes weekly. So if I haven't been able to figure out how to start talking when not like cued and just have it be automatic, I think I'm doing something wrong. I also realized something because this is officially our, and we actually didn't talk about this on the power rankings episode, but there's a chance that you are actually watching this on YouTube. And if you are, you realized if you watched the Power Rankings episode before that we do record these concurrently. And, maybe we should start thinking about like changing shirts in between episodes or something. Because,
wardrobe change.
because I'm saying I'm rocking this just like plain purple t shirt. And I'm like, whenever we started recording, I was looking at myself. I'm like, maybe I should have just like grabbed like 3 shirts and just quickly shuffled off camera, changed, and sat back down, and that way it looks like we're totally doing this on different days. Anyway, I totally got us off topic. Caleb, please keep going.
So we are going to jump in. This is basically we're all getting our own episode, and this is the Caleb episode. I get to talk about what I think the 2021-2022 NFL season is going to look like, who's going to win some awards, who's going to make and miss the playoffs, who's going to be the worst teams in the league, and eventually who's going to win the Super Bowl. So, with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start by talking about the 4 teams that I have finishing with the worst records in the NFL. And that is the Bengals, Texans, Jets, and Lions. So if you are a Bengals fan, I have you getting the number 1 overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft. Yay or nay about that? I don't really feel like there's any surprises there. Sean, Derek, any kind of surprises or anything there you want to react to?
Um, I mean, I think that's reasonable. I know that there are a lot of teams that are kind of slipping up a little bit right now. I One of the things I talked about in our NFC East previews is that I think the Giants right now stand to be incredibly poor, and I think that that could be a competition for them being in that bottom 4. They may end up in like the bottom 5 or bottom 6. But aside from that, I mean, that's pretty much the same as I have.
Yeah, mine are pretty close as well. I feel very sorry for the Giants because for me, I think they're probably the fourth or fifth seed in the or the fourth or fifth pick in the draft. And yes, that's a great player, but it's not like the best player that's out there. Those top three are always these are game changing people. And so for me, I don't know if the Giants are going to get that generational talent at 5.
Let's continue, but I'm going to go ahead and move down the list quite a bit, and let's go to the teams that I have just on the outside looking in. So this would be, if you are a bracketologist fan on March Madness like I am, this would be what I would dub my first 4 out, and going from the furthest out to the closest to the playoffs, I have the Patriots, Saints, the Browns, and the Seahawks. I don't think that any of those come off as terribly much of a surprise if you've listened to our team previews. I think in general, the team that I have probably raised the most this preseason is the New Orleans Saints. I feel like in general, I had to reaffirm to myself how good that offensive line is, how much I trust Alvin Kamara, and the fact that Jameis Winston, I don't know if I need to start calling him LASIK Jameis. Like, I feel like we need to differentiate somehow that he is the Saints quarterback versus Crab Legs Jameis or whatever we were calling him before. Although Crab Legs Jameis is probably going to stick around forever.
Yeah, the crab legs are immortal, timeless.
In general, before the preseason, I think I may have had them lower in the division even. I might have even considered them lower than the Panthers, but they just have looked good. And when you say, let's put trust in defense, offensive line, and coaching, the Saints at least have that, but I do think that they're on the outside looking in here in the playoffs. And other than that, we've talked about like the Browns on the Power Rankings episode. We talked about the Seahawks, and we've talked about the Patriots. So I don't know that there's anyone else there that you guys want to talk about. Derek, was there anything you wanted to add?
I think the Saints are going to be better than you think they are. I saw what Sean Payton did with a 5-0 Teddy Bridgewater, and I think that Jameis Winston is better than Teddy Bridgewater.
Quite possible.
I think the Saints are going to suffer from the fact that other teams around them have improved and are going to kind of eat away at wins that they may otherwise have gotten. And when we get to my episode, actually, I have the Saints as essentially the second team out of the NFC. So I agree that I think that they're good. I just think that there are other teams that are going to be better.
And that's kind of where I have them, second team out behind Seattle. So, not that I'm saying they're bad; they're just outside of window there. So let's go ahead and make sure that I confirm with you guys who I have in the playoffs, and then we will go ahead and go through some of the teams that I have as far as individual leaders for statistics. So let's do the AFC first. I have the Chiefs winning the AFC and getting the bye in the first round. I have the Bills winning the AFC East, the Steelers winning the AFC North, and the Colts AFC North, and the Colts winning the AFC South. Wild cards are going to the Chargers, Dolphins, and Ravens in that order. Any AFC reactions before we jump over to the NFC?
I mean, we talked about the Browns on our Power Rankings episode, so you leaving them out feels glaring, but you've already explained why.
The South is going to be a toss-up for anybody, so you're probably right, but there could be a lot of changes.
It's funny, like looking at all of the teams that you had making it. We have one, two. Actually, I think we just have two differences. So,
I don't think, if I'm remembering, you don't have the Dolphins in.
No, I have the Dolphins as the first team out. Second team out. Sorry.
I don't think you have the Steelers in.
No, I don't. I also have them as the first team out of the playoffs.
So it's not like we're diametrically opposed. We're just off on a little bit of positioning there. Going over to the NFC, I've got the 49ers getting home field advantage. The Packers are the 2 seed. The Buccaneers are the 3 seed. Cowboys win the NFC East and are the 4 seed. And then I have the Falcons as the first wild card winner, the Rams, and then the Washington football team as the last team in the playoffs. I know that in general, I'm higher on Washington. I've been higher on Washington, I think, all offseason. I'm riding with Fitzmagic a little bit, and I know that it could be Fitzmagic and Fitztragic, and it's going to ebb and flow as the season goes. But I also think that most quarterbacks are going to find a way to get more wins than they did last season. Derek, any reactions you have as far as those 7 NFC teams?
No, I mean, once again, we're very early in the process here, so you could be right.
All right, so let's go ahead and go to some of the players that I picked out as potential statistical leaders during this upcoming season. I have, for passing touchdowns, I have Matt Ryan as the leader. For rushing yards, I have Dalvin Cook of the Minnesota Vikings. For receptions, I have Keenan Allen. For receiving yards, I have DeAndre Hopkins. And for sacks, I have Jamal Adams. Sean, Derek, are there any that you want to go ahead and say, yeah, I'll agree with that, or I definitely don't agree with that, so I can either defend or support my position?
It's a lot of
Matty
touchdowns
Ice.
for Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
It is a lot of touchdowns for Matt Ryan. I do think that in general, Arthur Smith is the best offensive coach he's had since Kyle Shanahan left. And, we're putting a lot into coaching there. You've got Calvin Ridley, you've got Kyle Pitts, and I don't necessarily feel like they have the running attack to be like, yeah, we're going to get to the goal line and pound it in. So you're going to put the ball in Matt Ryan's hands and let him find someone who gets open.
I mean, I guess. I just think it's a bit of a long shot. I also think that there are a couple receivers that I would favor. I think Keenan Allen does break the century mark in grabs, but I think there are a couple of wideouts that I would probably put ahead of him in that regard. I mean, I think probably he has fewer grabs than like the two big tight ends in Kelsey and maybe even like Waller, because Waller gets a lot of looks. So I have a feeling that if he may be top 5, but I don't think he ends up with the most grabs.
I definitely think that having a full season with Justin Herbert is going to be able to help that. I understand hesitancy. Anytime we're picking one person to say, hey, I think this person will lead the way, when it's who out of this handful should be added or removed from the discussion. I mean, Keenan Allen, I think, is at least in the discussion.
I mean, I have him in my $1,000 PPR Dynasty League. So by all means, Keenan Allen, catch as many passes as you want. I won't complain. I think that, again, he breaks the century mark, but I do feel as though there are some other targets that may just barely eclipse him. I do like the Dalvin Cook as being the leading rusher. I also, when we get to my episode, will explain why I think that he ends up as the leading rusher, despite the whole COVID thing. Receiving yards, D-Hop, it's tough to argue one way or the other. I just don't know if he ends up healthy the entire year. He's older. It's one of those things. It's a
fair
bang-up position.
Derek, what are your takes on that as far as any of those positions? Derek, I can't hear you.
Yeah, it looks like our boy Derek is currently unable to be heard. Oh no. Let's how about this? All right, I think he's working again now. He gave me the thumbs up. Thumbs up, right? Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. All right. Take it away.
We are not the Mets. We don't do thumbs down with our players. So a little bit of spoiler alert when it comes to my episode later this week. I do like DeAndre Hopkins for a different reason, for a different category. But I think Sean's right when it comes to the yardage. I don't know if he is going to be able to get down the field. Unfortunately, other than Tom Brady, Father Time dislikes every other football player. And so anyone that has a few years on their legs, and especially in the NFC West with those defenses, I'm not sure that he's going to pick up those yards that are needed.
It's a fair take.
I think the reason why I have Hopkins there is I feel like the Cardinals are going to be struggling in some of those games and needing to get a whole lot of yards to come back. And so I have that they're going to be passing a lot, and that Hopkins, he finds a way to get open at least 20 yards deep easily, it seems like. So I think he may not, like I said, I have Keenan Allen leading in catches, but I figured Hopkins is going to get some deep balls his way.
Good point.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go through the wild card games, and I'll go ahead and go back to the AFC first. So I do have an upset in the wild card round. I have the five-seeded Chargers upsetting the fourth-seeded Colts. Given some of the comments we've had about the AFC South, it's not really a surprise.
Yeah.
I have the home teams holding for the other two, though. I have the Bills beating the Ravens in the 2-7 matchup, and the Steelers finding a way to beat the Dolphins in what I would assume is a very low-scoring 3-6 matchup. And just to go over to the NFC as well, I have the Packers winning a 2-7 matchup over the football team. The Falcons and Cowboys play each other in the 4-5 matchup, in which I have the Falcons finding a way to get an upset because getting Dallas into the playoffs and having them lose in the first round just felt so nice. And last but not least, there was the 3-6 matchup between the Buccaneers hosting the Rams. And I do have the Rams as a wild card team, but I do have them catching fire. So I have them upsetting Tampa Brady, and the Buccaneers, and dethroning the Super Bowl champions there. Sean, Derek, any thoughts about any of those matchups or anything there?
I think it's reasonable. I mean, Chargers over the Colts, I feel like it's going to be a very popular early season, postseason prediction and take. So that doesn't surprise me too much.
I don't have the football team making the playoffs, so I'm hoping to see something out of them. I hope to see with the same eyes that you have with that team. Maybe I'm just jaded, but I don't know if they. I don't know if they can do what. I don't think they make it to the playoffs.
They won't. I'm shaking my head.
I was wondering what Sean was saying.
Guys,
like, am I
you
wrong?
You guys can see it on YouTube. You can't see it if you're listening to us. But no, Caleb's Washington makes the playoffs is a take that he has and not one that I have.
I mean, you're an Eagles fan. I don't expect you to want to see, especially the Cowboys and the football team in the playoffs. That's probably a horrible situation.
One,
I don't have the football team repeating the division, so I have learned from you there.
If 16 years, like I don't know how 15 years of Ryan Fitzpatrick in the NFL hasn't taught you how his season goes, for you to think that the football team is going to be stable enough to be able to make the playoffs, I don't know what to tell you. With the way that their quarterback room is, I think their defense is going to win them some football games, but I don't think it's going to win them enough football games. And, you know, I have them finishing with a losing record. But, hey, this isn't my episode. This is Caleb's episode.
Absolutely. And let's go ahead and I'm going to start handing out some awards. So first, the award for Brody Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm giving that to Gregory Rousseau, the Buffalo Bills. You already heard me say that I have the Bills as a 2 seed. I think Rousseau is going to be able to come in on some critical passing downs and really be able to attack opposing quarterbacks. And I mean, there's 2 rookies and Tua in the division for him to go up against. So I think that he's going to be able to get there every now and then. I actually think that Rousseau ends up with double-digit sacks and is able to go ahead and get that seal on Rookie of the Year pretty early. For my Brody pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm giving that to Steelers running back Najee Harris. You know, maybe I'm drinking a little bit too much of the Steelers Kool-Aid, but they drafted Harris. They literally went from not having a rushing game last year to at least cautiously optimistic of having a rushing game this year. And, I mean, Najee Harris is at least going to be better than James Conner. Like, we can all agree on that. So, I think that he is the rookie that may have landed in the best situation and is on one of the better teams. And I feel like that narrative is going to fit well for him. I don't know when Lance or Fields are going to take over. I don't know that I trust that Trevor's going to play 17 games because the Jaguars' offensive line is made of paper mache. I, I like Zach Wilson is on the Jets. I don't know, like, is he getting them wins? Or are they still, like, Jets going to jet? Like, I don't know what's going to happen there. And then there's Mac Jones, which how much of that is Mac Jones and how much of that is the Patriots? So I feel like Najee Harris at least is able to control the narrative a little bit more by being at least consistent statistically and being able to ride that wave. I know it's probably an unpopular pick to give it to a running back with 5 quarterbacks in the first round, but I feel like definitely a decent option. As far as the other two, these are probably less spicy. My Brody pick for comeback player of the year is Dak Prescott. We've covered that ad nauseum. We all know that he's coming back. I have the Cowboys winning the East. It makes sense. And as far as assistant coach of the year, I gave that to Eric Bieniemy of the Kansas City Chiefs. I already have the Chiefs being the 1 seed. Bieniemy's been there with Mahomes along the way. I don't think that's a shock or a surprise to anyone. Any thoughts on those Rookie of the Year picks or those other awards that I was handing out there?
I need to
Eric?
know what the cool nickname for Najee and Ben is going to be. You remember the Killer Bees, so we need a new nickname for Najee Harris and Ben Roethlisberger.
Juju's TikTok backup dancers.
Dang, that's cold.
Off the top of his head, off the top rope.
Oh, sorry, that might have been a little cold. Sean, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
I mean, I only have one of those 4 as the same, and so I have my own decent, I think, opinions on why I feel defensive rookie of the year. I can see defensive rookie of the year. I can definitely see. I went a slightly different direction, but I think that it's generally easier to give it to a higher performing player on a high profile team. I have it going to a player I think is going to be a very high performer on a team that is going to be in the aspiring tier, or potentially end up in the wavering tier for those of us who like the Brody Sports Talk Power Rankings. And why the hell wouldn't you? They're the greatest
Everyone
power
loves
rankings on
our
the
power
planet.
rankings.
And I think actually that Derek is going to love my defensive rookie of the year pick. But we'll have to save that for another episode.
You can hear
Love
that
isn't a
pick
rookie,
on
and he doesn't
mine
play
because
defense.
I'm sure it's the same one.
Cheers.
So let's go ahead. Let's continue. So I'm going to go through the divisional round and the conference championships real quick. So the Chiefs end up facing the Chargers in the AFC West rematch. I do have the Chiefs beating the Chargers in that game. I think it would be a little bit closer than some people might expect. I would say something like 28-24. And then I'm going to keep with field as the Bills will beat the Steelers in the next round. Josh Allen and the guys find a way to get it done. Russo goes out and gets like a sack and a half against Big Ben. Why not? Let's go ahead and continue my theme. And Bills to win that one. I'm going to say that is a lower scoring affair. I'm going to say 24-13. Then going over to the NFC, I have a Packers-Falcons divisional round matchup. You guys know that I've bought a lot on the Falcons this year, but I can't continue to push that narrative through the divisional round. So I am taking the Packers to win that one. I'm going to call it 31-24. And while I did have the 49ers beating the Rams in the first 2 matchups that I had them playing during the regular season, I went with the Revenge Rams to upset 49ers and when it matters. Matthew Stafford getting a signature road playoff win. He's taken out Tom Brady, and now he's taken out Jimmy G / Trey Lance. Arguably one of the best defenses in the league in San Francisco. And so that sets us up for an NFC Championship between the Packers and the Rams. I do have the Packers winning that matchup. They faced each other in the playoffs last year. I just think that Devontae Adams and Jalen Ramsey is a matchup that everyone wants to see as much as possible. I also think that at some point the Rams' injuries at running back are going to hold them back at some point. So it's tough to figure out where. Had it being here. And then I had the Bills winning the AFC Championship rematch. They found a way to get it done in Kansas City. I'm going to call that a very high-scoring game. I'm going to say that it is Bills 41, Chiefs 38. And the Bills kick a game winner in Arrowhead to close out the game. Or reveal Super Bowl champion. Any thoughts on those ones?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much I agree with a lot of it.
It's fair. You're not supposed to necessarily agree. Otherwise, we would only need to do one of these as a consensus groupthink season preview.
Derek, what do you think? I'll let you take us.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't completely disagree with them because it's probable, and in my mathematical world, probable can mean to the point of possible. I mean, he could be right, he could be wrong. Who knows? We are several months away, and an entire NFL season away from knowing who's right and who's wrong. I do not think that the Bills are going to kick a field goal to go to the Super Bowl.
That's not how the Bills do it.
Not how the Bills do things. So if the Bills are going to make
their history or not, it's not really.
Yeah,
it's a redemption. It's a redemption.
If the Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl, it is going to be like 50-49 on a Hail Mary pass from Josh Allen. Like I don't know how you get to those numbers. I'm sure there's a way to do that, but maybe some 2-point conversions that failed from the Chiefs. But so yeah, I like the Bills this year, but I think you're wrong on who wins that game.
I wonder. I'm gonna look at Scoregami really quick and see if 50-49 has happened.
While you're looking that up,
Scoregami offline for maintenance. The app is undergoing maintenance right now. Please check back later. Way to go, Scoregami.
You're gonna need it in the NFL season.
Way to let me down.
If you were watching this video on YouTube when Scoregami is working, please comment and let us know. Or
a free high five
from
Twitter. Me if you do that.
Let's see.
Let's go ahead and go to some of my final awards. I'm going to call these the Big Four awards. I'm going to start with Coach of the Year. You guys already heard how I was talking about Matt Ryan's going to do great things. I have Arthur Smith winning Coach of the Year. I think that in general, especially if they finish as the 5 seed in the NFC, it's going to be a slam dunk on him being there. Dan Quinn reign is over. And I mean, if somehow David Coley had the Texans as a 5 seed, I might be able to buy that one. But I don't think that's going to happen. So
you realize we're talking about football, not basketball, so it wouldn't be a slam dunk. It would be some other football related term.
You can slam dunk over a goalpost. For Defensive Player of the Year, I was giving that Brody Award to Chase Young. I think that he's going to bounce back. That's part of why the Washington football team is going to have such a good year. I think that they need to be a top 3 or 5 defense for Washington to have the record that I think they'll have, which was 10-7. So I wasn't necessarily like crazy high on them, but I was a little bit higher than how they did this year. Offensive Player of the Year, went ahead and gave that award to Devontae Adams. I just feel like he has been feasting on defensive backs, and there's not a lot of good ones in his own division. So I think that he can continue that trend. And I did go ahead and give the MVP to Patrick Mahomes, which is probably the least spicy of all takes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty safe bet. I don't know. I mean, I would really hope that Chase Young does not get Defensive Player of the Year. Just selfish,
Certain
selfish
reasons why. Yeah.
selfish reasons. I think Arthur Smith has a very good chance of getting Coach of the Year, especially I think if the team can go through and getting a playoff berth is huge. I mean, we talked about, I want to say it was last week or maybe week before, about how Coach of the Year is kind of wonky in that it generally doesn't go necessarily to the best coach. It goes to the coach that did surprisingly better than expected. And I think Arthur Smith has a pretty good chance of being that better than expected coach.
I mean, he definitely fits the 2020 winner of Kevin Stefanski role pretty well for the new head coaches in 2021.
I like to push back on that narrative that you just put out there. Kevin Stefanski came into a team that won like 2 games in 97 seasons. The Falcons were in the Super Bowl not that long ago. So Arthur Smith isn't walking into bare bones cupboards. I mean, yeah, they're not a great team. They had the fourth overall pick, but I don't think Arthur Smith is walking into a team that's nearly as bad as you think they are.
I mean,
You're forgetting that the Browns came off of their 7-8-1 and 6-10 seasons, so they had already bounced back before Stefanski took over, and Stefanski took them from below average to playoff win. So I understand where you're coming from. It wasn't a complete rebuild, and I feel like that's what we're also saying with Atlanta. It doesn't have to be a complete rebuild. We're not talking about Urban Meyer or Robert Saleh winning Coach of the Year, and that's why I'm saying I think that Smith can do it because the Falcons aren't a completely horrible roster. They mainly missed games because of bad coaching, like the watermelon kick or things like that happened this past year.
I look forward to seeing what happened at the end of the season with the Falcons.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure. Let's go ahead. So, my Super Bowl winner is none other than the Buffalo Bills. I just think they're going to find a way to get it done, which kind of hurts to say because I'm putting potentially last season of Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl, but not finishing it out. Obviously, I'm a Packers homer, and I don't know that I was overly Packer homer on this prediction. I was trying to not necessarily have them all over the place. I felt like Adams as Offensive Player of the Year was the only award that went that way. And losing the Super Bowl feels possible. I mean, what doesn't feel possible at this point? It is early in the year, but I do think that Josh Allen would pose a terrible. He would give our defense nightmares. We've never done well with running quarterbacks in the playoffs. And while they don't necessarily have the run game, Stephon Diggs is really good. And I think that he would find a way to get open against our secondary as well. So that's where I'm at. Buffalo Bills, 2022 Super Bowl champions.
all right.
Good on them.
Not who I have, but I can respect the reasoning, and I think that, I mean, Bills fans have been waiting for a long time, so I think that they would be okay with this. They'd be very okay with this. So many tables broken. So many tables. Might as well go ahead and retire tables.
SoFi Stadium has to pull all the tables and hide them for the Super Bowl. That'd be fantastic. Derek, anything you want to add before we get ready to close this episode out?
I mean, go Bills Mafia, I guess.
I mean, they would definitely be excited, as Sean said. So that's kind of my prediction in a nutshell. wanted to go a little bit rapid fire and get through the awards and through the playoffs. I want to thank you all for listening. Please go check out all of our social medias. And if you heard us say YouTube and you're like, wait, these guys are on YouTube? Yeah, we are. I've added it to our link tree. It's linktr.ee/Brody Talk. And you'll find our YouTube link in there. You'll find our merch in there. You can always find us on Good Pods, Podchaser, all the Poddy Pod podcast platforms that exist, because that's what you want. You want to be able to find great podcast platforms. Oh,
Poddy
man.
Pod?
If you
Really? That's
We will never be number 2. We'll always be number 1.
oh wow. I was thinking more like Bodie McBoatface, but apparently I totally ruined that reference, which is bound to happen when I say things in the closing of episodes.
And now everybody gets to
On
see
behalf
it.
of Sean and Derek, thank you for listening to this episode of Brody Sports Talk, and be sure to tune in later this week to hear Derek and Sean's take on the season as well. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Later.